Hello and welcome. This is Muniza Siddiqui, and today I'm going to walk you through the exam focused concepts of the topic Accounting for Environmental and Sustainability Factors of the ACCA Performance Management exam. So let's begin.
Right off the bat, let's have a look at where exactly this topic fits in the grand scheme of the syllabus. This is the fifth component of Syllabus Area B, which focuses on specialist cost and management accounting techniques. And within this concept, we have the following learning outcomes. So we will be looking at issues faced by organizations in managing environmental costs, identifying different methods of accounting for them. We'll be looking at issues in accounting for environmental and sustainability factors, and recognizing the role that we as management accountants can play in helping businesses develop sustainable practices. Now, another thing to observe is that all of the outcomes here have been assigned intellectual level 1, which means these will be examined at the knowledge and comprehension level, as we will see when we round up with some past exam paper questions. So with the learning outcomes spelled out for us, we'll be starting our technical discussion by first understanding why environmental management accounting is the need of the hour for all businesses, what costs are involved and how to account for them. We'll understand what sustainability is and what role do we play for both the environment and sustainability, before we wrap up with a look at how these concepts have been examined in the past. Now, at its very basic, environmental management accounting is the process of preparing and presenting accounting information related to the environment that affects or is affected by the business at hand. So this information is used by management to help them plan, control, and make decisions about business operations overall. But why should a business incorporate environmental costs in their management accounts? With the world waking up to the effects of global warming and climate change, and recognizing the need to make substantial active efforts to try and ecosystem, requirements on a business to control its carbon footprint is increasing. So accounting for environmental costs may help anticipate and avoid these legal repercussions. Customers are also increasingly looking at the business's environmental responsibility initiatives, so developing a positive public image will lead to attracting more customers. For some businesses, such as a company involved in oil production, the environmental cost represents up to 20% of their operating costs. Identifying these, therefore, provides the business the opportunity to manage and save on these costs. Since all businesses are part of the ecosystem like you and I, but they have better reach, resources, and competencies, they can contribute a lot more by developing sustainable practices. Now, this does not mean that the business overlooks its primary objective of maximizing shareholder wealth. In 1998, Martin Bennett and Peter James published a paper on environmental management accounting titled The Green Bottom Line, Management Accounting for Environmental Improvement and Business Benefit. Now, this report outlines 6 ways in which both business and environmental benefits can be achieved. These are factoring in environmental effects when making capital expenditure decisions to make better decisions, identifying the environmental costs that are hidden in the overheads and controlling them better, reducing the waste produced in the current processes and saving energy. This will contribute towards both profits and environment. Understanding environmental effects on the life cycle cost of the output of the business, especially important because many of the environment-related costs are normally incurred at the end of a product's life when it is being disposed of. Measuring the environmental performance since stakeholders, that is the customers, suppliers, investors, etc., are becoming more interested in an organization's environmental impact. So this will help build a positive image in the eyes of the stakeholders. And finally, by involving management accountants in longer-term strategic planning for environmental related issues so that the costs can be anticipated and managed in time. Clearly, making efforts to increase profits while remaining environmentally responsible is not a mutually exclusive situation. So environment costs should be managed well. The Environmental Management Accounting Research and Information Center has provided a definition for environmental management accounting, which goes as follows. It is the identification, collection, analysis, and use of two types of information for internal decision making. Physical information on the use, flows, and rates of energy, water, and materials, including wastes, and monetary information on environment-related costs, earnings, and savings. So managing environmental costs requires focus on the physical use of scarce resources and identifying how much waste occurs in the operations, while also monitoring environment-related costs, earnings, and savings. But the first step to managing costs is, of course, identifying them. Now, there are various suggestions on how to classify the environmental costs, but we're going to cover just two of these. The first is the classification suggested by the US Environmental Protection Agency, which has set out 4 heads for the environmental costs. The first is conventional costs related to the environment. These are the costs incurred in buying energy and acquiring other scarce resources. The second is potentially hidden costs, so environment-related costs that are recorded in the books, but the management is unaware of them because they are hidden in the general overheads. Next, we have contingent costs or liabilities that the business may incur if its actions lead to a damage to the environment. So, for example, cleanup costs after waste is not disposed properly. Finally, we have the image and relationship cost, which are the costs incurred by the business in developing environmental reports or for highlighting the business's green efforts. Hansen and Mendoza identified the following classifications of environmental costs. Prevention costs incurred on activities which are undertaken to prevent waste production. So if the business is spending on redesigning processes to reduce the amount of wastage, that is a prevention cost. Detection costs, which are incurred to ensure that the organization complies with the regulations as well as the voluntary standards. So, for example, the cost of auditing the organization's environmental activities. Internal failure costs, which are incurred to clean up environmental waste and pollution before it has been released into the environment. Example, costs of disposing of toxic waste. And finally, external failure costs, which are incurred on activities performed after discharging waste into the environment. So, for example, cleaning up an ocean after spilling oil. Now, there are other suggestions regarding environmental cost classification as well. But the primary step after identifying the costs is to account for them. For these, we have 4 techniques. The first is environmental activity-based costing, which is basically the activity-based costing approach applied on environmental costs for a more accurate cost assessment. Now, under this approach, environment-related costs are attributed to the joint environmental cost centers, such as a sewage or power plant. But environment-driven costs are normally hidden in the general overheads, and so they are apportioned using appropriate cost drivers. So, for example, if we are incurring cost on monitoring carbon emissions, this can be apportioned to the centers based on the kilograms of carbon emissions by each. Now, the accuracy of cost allocation and apportionment will lead to better pricing and decision making. The next technique to managing environmental costs is the input-output analysis. This technique is built on the mass balance premise. So the underlying thought is that what material comes into a process must go out. And if the output cannot be sold or stored, then it is waste, which can be either scrapped or disposed. Or in some cases, it may be an abnormal loss. Identifying that the business process will yield waste can help budget for the cost to be incurred in disposing it. And of course, it is a wake-up call to reassess the process and try and reduce the wastage. Next, we have the flow cost accounting, which is a more detailed version of the input-output analysis. So this technique also focuses on the material. But the difference is that while input-output analysis is focusing on the total input and output of material at the start and end of the complete production process, flow cost accounting is taking measure of the waste at each step of the process where multiple processes are involved. So not just the physical quantity of the material, but the costs and value of the output at each process is examined. These costs are labeled as the obvious material cost, system or conversion cost, which is the wages and overheads incurred to add value to the input, and the delivery and disposal costs, which are the costs incurred to deliver goods to the customers or dispose of the waste. The final technique is life cycle costing, and this looks at the environment-related costs incurred from the first stage of a product's life cycle, that is, its development till its decline, so from the cradle to the grave. Life cycle costing is often used as a lot of environmental costs, especially those related to cleaning up, are incurred towards the end of a product's life cycle. Now, the example cited in the study hub is of Xerox Corporation that leased photocopy machines to its clients, meaning that the machines would come back to the company at the end of the lease. Since this meant that the machine had to be packed twice, once at the start of the lease agreement and once at the end, the cost of packaging was high, which was identified when the company carried out a life cycle cost assessment. Now, Xerox has started using standard reusable packaging that has reduced the packaging costs and, of course, the environmental cost related to the development of the packaging. The discussion that started with business acknowledging environmental costs has now expanded to examine the link between business operations and sustainability. The United Nations Brundtland Commission defines sustainability as meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So organizations are now required to consider the long-term consequences of their decisions and assess if their practices are actually sustainable. This is important not only from a moral or ethical obligation stance, but also because investors are increasingly attracted to businesses that are doing their part towards the environment and society. So it is in the business's best interest to develop a sustainability strategy, which means building value for the shareholders, but also contributing to the needs of a sustainable society. Accounting processes should therefore support these four perspectives, which aim to focus on elements that truly drive sustainability within the organization. This should lead to more informed decision-making and development of sustainable practices. So an organization should consider how can value be created with the available capital, resources, and relationships. What impact does the society have on the business and vice versa? How are the consumer needs changing, and is the business adapting to it or not? What risk or opportunities are created for the business based on the mega trends? The business then can also use the triple bottom line reporting framework to communicate this to the stakeholders. So this adds to the traditional reporting framework and takes into account the environmental and social performance of the business along with the financial performance. The financial reports will reflect the costs of the current and planned efforts for the planet and people apart from the primary profit. We'll now bring the discussion home. What role can we as management accountants play in helping businesses sustainable practices? Since sustainability has to be initiated at the strategic level, accountants can support the leadership by identifying relevant trends, highlighting the significant natural and social capital issues related to the business, and emphasizing on the benefits of dealing with these matters so that a sustainable business case is developed. We can support management operations by improving the process of the information and data collection, its analysis and reporting. So this can help identify where value is being created in the process and where it is lost, and where redesigning could lead to reduced wastage. Finally, integrated reporting can be used to communicate the efforts made by the business to its stakeholders. Now let's have a look at how this concept has been examined in the past. In the September-December 2022 exam attempt, there was this question from section A of the exam, which is an objective type question. Starting with the requirement, what is the environmental cost of June's production run? Reading the scenario, Zoll Company manufactures a single product, the Zoot, which is made from a mix of two chemicals A and B. The company accounts for environmental costs using input-output analysis, which is a key thing. Chemical A costs $1,000 per ton and chemical B costs $1,500 per ton. Any chemicals which are wasted in the production process must be disposed of at a cost of $250 per ton. June's production run used 10 tons of chemical A and 50 tons of chemical B. So the total output of Zoot was 54 tons. Since this is the input-output analysis, it is based on the thought that what comes in must go out. So we start with calculating the input. Now there were 10 tons of chemical A and 50 tons of chemical B, and the total cost for these work out to be $85,000. Next, we focus on the output, which was just 54 tons, meaning that 6 tons had been wasted in the production process. Now the environmental cost of these 6 tons, which is the basic requirement, will not just be their share of the input cost, but also the cost of disposing these. The input cost share of these 6 tons amounts to $8,500, and the cost of disposing them amounts to $1,500, bringing the total to $10,000, which is option D. So you can see that as a numerical concept, the environmental costs testing is not very complicated. Let's have a look at one more requirement. In September-December 2023, and please don't assume that it's a trend for environmental costs to be tested in the latter half of the year, but in this attempt, the concept was tested in section C of the exam for 5 marks. So we're a company by the name of Limic Air, and we had to identify the issues that the company was facing with regards to the management of its environmental costs. Now this could not have been a generic answer, and the relevant points had to be picked out of the scenario provided. Now you can refer to the actual scenario in the past exam paper section on the ACCA website, but what I would like to direct your attention to is the standard solution. You will observe that the points made were not complicated at all. Now the first paragraph highlights the main issues, that since the company was a low-cost airline, in an effort to keep its cost to a minimum, it leased planes which used cheaper, more polluting fuel, and it also used ground boarding, which resulted in buses leaving their engines running, recognizing that both of these had a direct environmental impact. Now, in an analysis, you don't just suggest an ideal solution, you provide a realistic one. So we had to recognize, and for this, I want you to refer to the second paragraph, that the company could not easily switch to environmental friendly practices due to low profit margins and because the switchover costs would be high. To conclude, we'd wrap up by recognizing that these practices could be unsustainable, as this could lead to legal repercussions in the form of fines or the risk of customer boycott. And all of these would have easily scored you the pass mark for this requirement. If you wish to get more insights on this topic, then apart from the content on the Study Hub, you can also read through the technical article on environmental management accounting included in the Student Study Support resources.
With this, we come to the end of our discussion today. I hope you found the session useful and wish you all the best for your ACCA exam prep. Take care.